voudrais vous souhaiter à tous la bienvenue ici au ministère des Affaires étrangères et du Développement international pour cette table ronde. Je crois que vous allez avoir des échanges sur des travaux qui sont particulièrement importants et notamment sur l'incidence qu'aura le nouvel agenda post-2015.
There are other things, there are major things that will happen between now, that are happening and will happen between now and 2020. But at the economic scene, we will have not only Doha, but we will have the transatlantic trade agreement. And the transatlantic trade agreement will force major changes also. Cotonou Partnership Agreement is that. Probably some of us do not notice, have not yet noticed it, but in 2020 it will be that. But this does not mean that a new agreement should not be done. As far as it is a binding agreement, it is accepted by the countries, and there is really a joint management with a joint funding. Yes, it can exist and it should incorporate as far as possible.
We had at the high-level meeting bringing together our ministers December last year. We agreed to continue monitoring ODA. Our development ministers agreed or recommitted themselves to the 0.7 target of providing ODA. And we agreed on new definitions on concessionality, to have an even stricter approach to ODA. And at the same time, we agreed that we want to live up to the challenges you have been raising, that in fact what is in demand is much more than just ODA. And that's why we started working on a new measure for financing for development, which is total official support for sustainable development, TOSSD. But you are invited to come up with better acronyms. The competition is still open, which we will hopefully be able to agree on soon, and that will cover other dimensions and hopefully be able to mobilize more resources, more official resources for the broader range of issues that we are going to look at with the SDGs. And we are also working on how to use ODA in a smarter way in order to catalyze other private flows. It's all in order to match the Sustainable Development Goals, but as we have heard earlier today, we are going to have the financing for Sustainable Development Conference this time before the SDG Summit in July in Addis. So that's, I guess, where we have to come up with our proposals and make sure ODA stays alive, but also helps to mobilize all the other resources we need.
It's very easy to integrate the new agenda, all these SDGs, in whatever new Cotonou agreement or whatever agreement. It's very easy. You just put the articles there. But will this bring collective action? Will this bring a new way of dealing internationally in competing interests in different regions, different partners? Unless we also tackle this aspect, that's the machinery that will deliver other deals. Not the deal of managing aid. That's what we largely do now in Cotonou. We manage EDF. That's 90% of the energy. And that's fine. But as we don't want this anymore and the agenda expands, and we say it's all about managing global problems, global challenges, including security, many others, then we must change the software of doing this. And in my view, second point, the software of the Cotonou Agreement and the European Union cannot do this. And maybe the third point, and I fully agree on this, it's the new governance implied in the new agenda. Let's be honest, the last 30, 40 years, the development agenda has been managed by separate agencies, development agencies, more or less connected to foreign policy. Is this the future? This is not realistic. So it will imply a joint up approach, a whole of government, you call it, a whole of society even, because now we have all these stakeholders. So the whole governance format is also something that we must integrate in our debates. Not only the themes, because that's quite easy, I think. We all want sustainable development goals. But the way to get collective action and the governance formats that go with it.
The main challenge we have with that SDG agenda is that it's a universal agenda. So from now on, or from September on, we will be mutually accountable on what we do. So it's not a North-South agenda anymore. I'm very happy with that. We also have to move away from the aid and trade agenda, not only the aid, but also the trade as one of the main focuses on our poverty reduction, whatever. So it has to go for a fundamental change. Equal partnership, so no donor-receiver partnerships anymore. I know that I'm talking for the future, but I think that that has to be our main goal.
First of all, I think that by integrating the SDGs to the post-2020 EU ACP framework, we will be doing something fantastic for policy coherence for development, and we will also be helping in the implementation, in the actual implementation of the SDGs. Now, do I think that every single SDG and sub-objective can be integrated into the post-2020 Cotonou framework? No, that's not the purpose. The purpose is to use the post-2015 agenda as the blueprint and kind of try to have a future, let's say, Cotonou agreement as the vehicle to implement certain of the SDGs. And in this, I wanted to agree with Fernando that the legally binding nature of Cotonou is, in my view, one of the most important things that we need to keep, because this will also ensure our added value.
And there are many good elements in the Cotonou agreement. The binding nature. I think that's an added value. The collaboration on, because it also strengthens our collaboration on good governance, political dialogue, human rights, and then of course the trade and development, which is important. I need to say that from a Danish perspective, ODA is not dead. It's changing. It's changing its nature, and it's a testimony to our responsibility. And we need to stick to that commitment, because if not, we will not get mutual responsibility for the global challenges that we are facing. And I think we also need to think about, of course, global public goods, because that is the animal that we are not talking about, and the transformation we are going towards. And here ODA is an important element, because it's, as I said, it's our responsibility, our commitment. And then we need, of course, to be aware of this multi-stakeholder partnership, and how we deal with the fact that there are so many other actors that we need to engage with. How will they be able to, be part of our collaboration? So it is a world of definitely differentiated responsibilities and different roles. Thank you.
At the end of the day, it affects 6 things quite fundamental. One we have already discussed, the North-South. This is strictly speaking exit in Universal Agenda. Secondly, the themes, we have discussed this also. It's very comprehensive. It's embracing all kinds of things, not necessarily covered by ODA, and certainly embracing all kinds of global public goods. We also discussed this. So the scope is much wider. Thirdly, if we say it's about global challenges, about a big agenda of mutual responsibilities, then obviously this means that we go even further beyond aid, because the solution to these global challenges is not traditional development finance. This is not to say that it is fully out, also we discussed this, but that in fact the main driver will be all kinds of other things we don't do enough now. Negotiations, searching for common interest, real partnerships based on interest, all these kind of things which you could call collective action at different levels. So it's a much more political inspired cooperation.
But do we not have a responsibility also as citizens, as taxpayers, to have that money spent properly? And in that case, when countries, some of these countries have higher GDPs than some European countries, should we not then really think how we're spending that money? And perhaps when it comes to, I actually read that paper, your paper, I think it yours this morning on the train, but the idea of doing very much in line with the DCI, having maybe more distribution policies, the domestic resource mobilization, etc. That to me is part of the debate.
Someone said the guys who have invented this must have been smoking. I think they were ahead of their time in my view, and that was also said by many, because they disturbed our comfort zone of development cooperation in a silo with a shrinking constituency at home. But of trusted community of people who think it's important, and we are on the these people. And we confronted our societies and our politicians and our public opinion with, hey guys, this is the world of today. So, and that's of course a huge transition, and of course it scares off, and it's very complex. You'd say, what is this animal? But I think that's for me the essence of universality. And that's the good thing about development cooperation, because how much we love our job, we see also the limits of it. And yeah, I think you said it, it's an opportunity to get out of this silo where even our very politicians put us.